Hello, I'm Dr. V, and I've got 10 reasons why Save the World goes free in Fortnite is exciting for both parents and kids. I'll also touch on a little bit of research and some of the shadow sides to this too, because free is not necessarily always entirely free. A little bit of context before I delve into the top 10, just so you know who I am, where I'm talking from. Professionally, I am an associate professor in digital health and AI. I don't do research on gaming specifically, although I do bring in that perspective. I am also a parent, and I've been playing Fortnite with my son and without him, with people my own age as well for a little while. So this list is based on our experiences, our pain points as well, where Save the World could actually have some real benefits, because it's not something that he's been able to play at this point. But there's some exciting news there. It's going to be available to more consoles. So let's delve in. Number 1, it's going to be free. I mean, that's great, right? Up until this point, Save the World has been something you pay extra for. Battle Royale is what most of people would think of as Fortnite, has been free. I mean, they have ways that they earn their money, which I'll touch on in a bit. But yeah, if you wanted to play Save the World up until this point, you have to pay for a starter pack. So now you don't have that barrier. Anyone can try it out, see if they like it. And maybe it might be just something for you and yours. And at number 2, and I put this really high up because it's been something that's been a pain point as I've been playing with my son for several months. Fortnite is going back to its root with Save the World. This is how Fortnite started, and the game mode is player versus environment, PvE, instead of player versus player, PvP. That means no sweaty lobbies. If you're unfamiliar with that term, a sweaty player is somebody who tries really hard, who's extremely competitive. And the skills-based matchmaking that Fortnite has in recent months in particular, meant that the lobbies are usually harder. So they're more based on the higher skill levels, it seems. There's been a lot of outcries in the communities I've seen about this. So, for example, what that's meant for me and my son is that in the beginning when we played, the level was alright, you know, it's a lot more casual. He could do something, he could have some successes. But nowadays, when he's been playing with me, it's been against people who are just way too difficult and they're too good for him. So he gets defeated super quickly, and that's really disheartening, and that's really killed all the fun for us, no pun intended. So this is why it's such a high thing up on my list. PvE, you don't have that, it's more for number 3. Guess what? Research says that cooperative gaming is better for kids. Common sense, I guess, but you know, let's dig into it because it's quite interesting. I'm going to look at some of the notes that I have on it. So with Battle Royale, which is a typical game mode in Fortnite, it's like the Hunger Games. It's just a prettier package without the blood and gore. But it's a last man standing, or you can play in teams, of course, but typically it's you against loads of people. You strive to get weapons and other kind of loot, and yeah, you try to be the last man standing. For younger people, developing their emotional sides of their brains and so on, this can be psychologically hard, especially if they're playing on their own. So when I started playing with my son, I purposely did it together with him, just to help with that psychological aspect. Now, it turns out for him, the game mode itself has not been a real challenge. There's been other things more related to the shop, which I think I'll get back to, so a little seed there. But what I said about sweaty lobbies, there's research around this. So there's something called the self-determination theory, which is when kids, I think adults as well, have a need for competence to do well, etc. When that's thwarted, literally, they're suffering. Well-being is affected by it. So when games frustrate feelings of competence, etc., when you're outmatched, outskilled, when you feel like it's impossible, that in itself is seeming from the research to be a real driver for aggression, anger and frustration, etc. More so than game content, meaning it's not the violence, it's the frustrations or feelings of helplessness. And I think that is pretty profound. So on the positive side though, there have been some studies, like there was a meta-analysis I found from 2014 looking at 98 different studies with like almost 40,000 participants in them, which was focusing more on insights like pro-social gameplay is associated with pro-social behavior. Again, it sounds kind of common sense when you say it out loud. But it really cuts across the board of different game genres and people, etc. And there's another study where people who played violent games cooperatively actually showed more cooperative behavior afterwards instead of others who played competitively. So the social context is more important. And I think this is where Battle Royale by default is sort of set up to be competitive rather than cooperative. And this is where I think Save the World is very different. And at number 4, just rolling with the previous theme, teamwork is kind of the whole point of Save the World. So you have some things that you can do on your own, but the kind of really rewarding missions that you can do, they are set up to be with 4 people. And the whole game is also set up that you can choose different kind of roles that you play. And this gives so many great opportunities for, well, friends playing together, but also parents and kids, which is a bit of the focus that I have in this video, where you could be a constructor, for example, and somebody could be somebody who's more of a damage dealer and so on. But let's say if I'm playing with my kid, I could say, well, why don't you build the structures, I'll put up some traps, or the other way around and so on. So there's a lot more planning and cooperation and working together to kind of, you have a shared mission. Everything is based on a mission, so it has much more of a purpose than, yeah, let's go and kill other people. Or even though in this game it's a lot of killing monsters, like they're called husks, zombies. But there's some kind of purpose there, and it's also lots of humor. The storyline I was really looking forward to, there's a bit more of that in it, with some quirky, funny characters. So Save the World has that aesthetic that I think a lot of people love in Fortnite, but then the whole context of playing is then quite different. At number 5, this is related to building, the thing that I never like to do in Fortnite. But yeah, creativity is the name of the game in Save the World, for me at least. A lot of it is built around that you do building, that you create structures, defenses and traps, and you can be really creative about how you do it, and also do some really fun things. There's some fun traps that you can really like push the monsters around and, you know, literally get them flying across the map and so on. So whilst Battle Royale has that build mode, and a lot of people do that also really competitively, I mean, the context in which you do it is like you have a threat, right? Your nervous system gets triggered, fight or flight, and you build to defend or you build to attack. In this case, it's different. In Save the World, you got time to plan things out and build out and be creative and, yeah, have some fun with it. And then, yeah, for most game missions, then you have as much time as you want. Some of them, it's like a bit of a time thing. You need to start within a certain amount of time, but it's never the same kind of stress on it. So that's a big part for us. My son is super creative. He likes building and destroying and rebuilding and so on. So this is something I'm very excited about. Number 6 is a super quick one. Fortnite Save the World is going to be available on Nintendo Switch 2. Not Nintendo Switch 1, but number 2. It's not been available before, this mode. And even though I tried other like cloud-based services to enable my kid to play with it, the gyroscopic functions of controllers didn't work out, so he couldn't really use it properly to target and aim. So yeah, this is super exciting. It's then going to be accessible to one of the most family-friendly consoles that there are. So looking forward to that. Point number 7 is a bit of an odd one perhaps, but it's about progression and goal setting. Most games like this are designed to be addictive somehow, and also to spend money in them. But Battle Royale is very much of a dopamine fix type of scenario, where you're very prone to doing one more. And also, if you're not doing well, there's a tendency that I've seen for a lot of people, including myself. If I'm not doing well, I want to keep going until I kind of finish on a good note. With Save the World, it's much more around the campaign, the story. You're building up, you're kind of developing your things that you craft, like weapons and traps, and you do missions. So it's a bit easier to manage and say, okay, we do this one more mission, then we leave it there. It also gives a lot of interesting talking points. So again, this is very much specific to parents and kids. About, yeah, what did we learn from what we just did? You know, how are we going to do that? You know, what are we going to do next? So yeah, I think there's lots of juicy stuff in there. At number 8, this is actually about the updates coming to Save the World. Not just that it becomes free to play, but that there's a smoother onboarding for new players. For myself as an adult, and I had a friend of mine, also an adult in her 40s, who started playing recently. And we both find it really overwhelming. Like, there's a learning curve for sure, but they're improving it. So it's a much better time to come into the game. So thumbs up for that, and let's hope that they will continue improving it. Another quick one at number 9, which is about cross-play and cross-region play. Fortnite has this. Save the World is going to have this as well, and as I just said in the previous point, it's also now going to be available on Nintendo Switch 2. So that means you can play together regardless of what device you're on. It also means that if you play on different devices, your progression, where you're at in the story, all the stuff that you've built and accrued in terms of everything that you can craft and so on, it carries on to your account, and you can play that whenever, wherever kind of thing. So I play with people from all over the world on different devices, and this is a real benefit. And at number 10, this is like a historical thing, because I think it was back in 2017 that Fortnite actually was launched, and it was Save the World. But most people don't seem to know that. I didn't know that until I'd been playing Fortnite for a little while. And I was really enjoying getting into Save the World, and then you could see the characters where everything came from. Even though like the story isn't like the most sophisticated, it's fun. But just, yeah, everything came to life a lot more from that. So the fact that it's now going to come back, to be reinvigorated and accessible to everyone, I think it's a milestone worth mentioning. And I want to close this video with a few things to be mindful of, because it's not all sunshine and daisies. I said free in quotation marks. You may be familiar with this expression. There's no such thing as a free lunch. There's always some kind of cost or a benefit to the host, if you like. So yeah, Fortnite has been free for a while, but the first thing you see when you log in is the shop. And actually, as a parent, as I mentioned earlier, the game mode of Battle Royale didn't seem to be any kind of real issue for my son. Sure, there's some things there, but the real point of contention has been the shop. Because it really plays on FOMO, fear of missing out, new stuff, collabs all the time, wanting to get the latest cool stuff, because otherwise you're not going to be cool if you have the old stuff. And there's so much, like it's updated daily, and you got all these collabs. And then, I mean, I did a post on this on Reddit because it was so striking to me. I've never submitted bug reports for a game before, but there's been so many bugs and issues, but yet the shop seemed to operate extremely smoothly. There's so much stuff there. So there will be an exposure to the shop through Save the World. Maybe there'll be some specific things that they develop that within the Save the World environment that encourages people to buy some other things. I don't know. There's speculations in the community at the moment, but yeah, the V-Bucks cost real money. Battle passes, there might be one for Save the World as well, might be included as part of crew and so on. But I think that's worth being aware. I'm going to just have a look at some things here as well, because there's some really interesting timelines going on recently. So this is now mid-April 2026, and a month ago, just over a month ago, Epic Games, who own Fortnite, increased the cost of V-Bucks. And literally the day afterwards, they announced that Save the World was going to be free to play. And then I think it was just like a week or so afterwards, there's an announcement that over 1,000 Epic employees have lost their jobs, being made redundant, etc. And there seems to be some other things going on here as well, with players on different consoles decreasing the amount of time that they're playing Fortnite. So this might be a business decision more than a community-driven decision, I speculate, but I think it's worth bearing that in mind. And I hold both. Like I can play a game like this and know that there's some element here that is really prying on young people wanting to spend money, and the pressures that parents get from that as well, and all the hassle comes with it. And as a hassle, as a parent, it can be a real point of contention, and I've seen that posted by others online as well, wishing for it to be possible to turn off the shop. But this is why the game is free. Nothing is truly free. It's free to play, and if you're okay to not buy anything, but you will have those temptations. Your kids will, if they're playing. And the next one, I touched on it already, that there is a learning curve for Save the World, and it is a lot more steeper than the normal Battle Royale mode. But there's loads of opportunities here. Yes, it's more complex, there's more stuff to learn about and do. They're improving that journey, but the real benefit I see here is that you don't do this kind of game in isolation nowadays. At least if you are, I would invite you to reach out. I mean, the fact that you're looking at this video means you're searching for information online. There's some really great content creators on YouTube for Save the World, lots of guides and tutorials. They have Discord servers. They also have streams where they invite people to come and join them. I do stream occasionally myself. So when I started, as I said, I found it overwhelming. So much stuff. And I joined it with some people who'd already been playing for a while. And they took me under the wing, showed me the ropes, took me into some higher level missions to help me level up and get resources more quickly as well. So that's a really nice part of the game. I got to see how they played, how they dealt with situations, how they built traps, what traps they used. I got to know about what weapons were good, what I should focus on. Yeah, because the game has so many things that you can collect and use. And for me, maybe half of that wasn't really super obvious. It took me maybe 2 months before I kind of properly realized how some of the things worked out. And I'm not stupid. I have a PhD to testify for that. So yeah, obviously I'm old in some people's eyes. But yeah, it's the learning curve is real. But the opportunity there is to do it together with people. I think this is where the game mode really shines. And just to wrap up, the pace of the game is different to Battle Royale, and to me it's a good thing. Like, I can't really play Battle Royale if I'm feeling stressed, and I got friends who just can't play it at night because it just ramps up the nervous system, which is the opposite of what you want when you want to go to bed. So the pace is slower, the missions can be a bit longer, it depends on the type of mission, but also the early game is slower, especially as you learn the ropes, you understand the systems, but once you understand it, then yeah, it does pick up the pace and so on. So not every single mission is going to be packed full of action either. There's some missions that you do which will require you to go and just harvest resources, which again can be nice and relaxing, some really boring. For me, if I play Battle Royale, depending on who I'm playing with, there's certain gameplays that just become too slow for me. I can get quite impatient with it. I haven't had that, ironically, with Save the World, because I think there's always a purpose to what I'm doing, but I just find just camping around, waiting around to be an issue. But if I'm going around, you know, kind of gathering resources, I'm doing something. So for me personally, never been an issue, and actually that can be just a nice little thing that I can do for a break. So yeah, I'm gonna close this video there. A fairly meaty one. I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. And if you're gonna give Fortnite Save the World a go, then as I said, do check out resources. I'll put some in the description underneath the video, so check them out.